When humanity finally reached the skies, we expected silence, an untouched frontier waiting for our discovery. But what we found was haunting. Before our first satellite broke through the atmosphere, before our first astronaut left Earth, there were already objects orbiting our planet, objects we did not build. The truth was undeniable. Space wasn't empty. Something was already there, watching. Ancient cultures warned us. Modern military footage confirms it. And now, even official reports admit what once sounded impossible. We are not alone, and we never have been. This isn't the beginning of contact. It's the continuation of surveillance. A silent presence, a patient intelligence, monitoring our evolution and our mistakes. They were here before us, and they might never have left. Before humanity looked up and wondered what lay beyond the stars, before we built machines that could break the atmosphere, before the idea of a satellite had even been conceived, something was already there, circling silently above us. Not myth, not metaphor, something real, something watching. In the late 1950s, during the dawn of the space age, both American and Soviet radar stations began picking up something unexpected, a mysterious object in polar orbit around the Earth. This wasn't just unusual, it was impossible. At that time, neither nation had launched anything capable of achieving that trajectory. The orbit it followed was reserved for high-level surveillance, the kind needed to observe the entire surface of the planet. But who or what had placed it there? They called it the Black Knight. According to mainstream sources, the Black Knight satellite is nothing more than space debris, a remnant of a lost thermal blanket, adrift and tumbling through space. But that explanation doesn't hold when you examine the timeline, the behavior, or the reports that preceded its discovery. Radar tracking indicated a large dark object circling the Earth from pole to pole, not along the equator like early human satellites. The object was emitting radio signals, strange delayed echoes that didn't behave like natural reflections. These were long delay echoes, or LDEs, bouncing back minutes later instead of milliseconds. Radio operators couldn't explain it. They began to suspect the signal was being intercepted and deliberately returned, and this wasn't even the first time such signals had been heard. Decades earlier, in the 1920s, Nikola Tesla reported something extraordinary. While experimenting with radio frequencies from his Colorado Springs lab, he picked up transmissions that he described as intelligent and extraterrestrial. Tesla was a visionary, not a fantasist. He believed what he heard was communication from beings not of this earth. Soon after, Italian radio pioneer Guglielmo Marconi experienced similar anomalies. Repeating pulses, delays, signals out of time. None of it fit the known behavior of Earth-based communication. At the time, skeptics dismissed these as technical errors, atmospheric interference, imagination. But the echoes didn't stop. In fact, by the 1970s, some researchers began to map them, literally. One theory suggested the long delay echoes corresponded with star positions in the Epsilon Buddhist system. If this was a signal, then it was pointing somewhere specific. And then came the polar orbit. Let's be clear. In the early 1960s, achieving a polar orbit was not just difficult. It was a feat of extreme precision. It required energy and targeting far beyond what was available to early rocket technology. Yet the object labeled the Black Knight followed that path effortlessly. NASA responded quickly, claiming it was a fragment from the Discoverer 8th satellite. But the math didn't add up. The Discoverer program had no known objects in such an orbit, and the shape and behavior of the Black Knight didn't match anything previously launched. More curious still was how the object behaved. Ham radio operators tracked it not just by radar, but by the signals it emitted. Some claimed to receive strange code bursts. Others noted the object would disappear, then reappear, in ways no ordinary debris could. Some even reported subtle course changes, unprompted by external force. Space junk doesn't shift direction on its own. So what is it? To me, this doesn't look like debris. It doesn't even look like malfunctioning technology. It looks like surveillance, deliberate, patient, and ancient. Some have proposed that the Black Knight is a probe, not just sent here, but left here. A long-term observer from a non-human intelligence placed in orbit millennia ago. If we entertain the estimate proposed by early signal analysts that it may have been transmitting for 13,000 years, we're faced with a question mainstream academia avoids. Who had orbital technology when humans were still carving stones? If such an object was placed above Earth in deep prehistory, its purpose could only have been one thing: to watch us, to monitor, to gather, and maybe to wait. This aligns with ancient traditions that speak of watchers, celestial beings, sky gods, or divine messengers who observed humanity from above. The biblical Nephilim, the Mesopotamian Igigi, the Sumerian lords of the sky, all described as descending from the heavens, manipulating life on Earth, then vanishing again to their lofty domains. What if their gaze never left? What if their technology, their surveillance systems, remained behind, hidden not on mountaintops, but in orbit? In 1960, the U.S. Department of Defense once again reported a dark object in space. It was moving against the path of natural orbital debris. Its signal wasn't recognized. It had no origin on Earth. Once more, the official line was denial. But unofficially, within classified briefings and military intelligence circles, the whispers continued. Something was up there. Something we didn't put there. Amateur astronomers, too, kept reporting sightings. Glimpses of an unlisted object moving in silence, appearing in polar regions, disappearing from tracking screens. Radio hams described encounters with coded patterns they couldn't explain. Over time, the object earned a place in alternative history, not just as a mystery, but as a witness, a celestial sentinel. We like to think we claimed the stars, that with Sputnik, Apollo, and Voyager, we entered the age of exploration. But perhaps we were never the first explorers. Perhaps the stars were never empty to begin with. The Black Knight might be only the visible tip of something far more complex. A surveillance grid spanning the Moon, Mars, deep space, objects parked in Lagrange points, listening posts buried in shadows, silent technology placed by a civilization with thousands or millions of years of advancement over us. This raises a troubling implication. If they are watching, what are they watching for? Our technology, our aggression, our spiritual evolution? Perhaps the grid awakens only during key thresholds. The discovery of radio, the testing of nuclear weapons, the launch of crewed space missions. Perhaps the presence of such objects increases every time we near a boundary we weren't meant to cross. One thing is clear. When we stepped into space, we didn't step into a void. We stepped into someone else's domain. This wasn't conquest, it was contact, not overt, not welcomed with flags or open skies, but measured, monitored, observed. They came from beyond the stars, not in blazing ships or dramatic arrivals, but in silence, cold, quiet, calculated. They didn't send signals, they didn't seek contact, they merely passed through. And yet, what they left behind was more than dust. They left questions, and perhaps warnings. For most of human history, the idea of an object entering our solar system from another star was relegated to fiction. Astronomers once believed interstellar visitors were improbable, too far, too fast, too rare. But in October 2017, that changed. The first interstellar object ever observed by humanity was detected by Pan-STARRS, a telescope based in Hawaii. Its name was Oumuamua, a Hawaiian word meaning scout or messenger. From the moment it was spotted, everything about it defied classification. It was long, thin, and cigar-shaped, nothing like the asteroids or comets we've cataloged in our solar system. It reflected sunlight like metal, but lacked the gas or dust tail that a comet should have when approaching the sun. It tumbled irregularly, as though it had no stable axis of rotation, and most unsettling of all, it accelerated. As it moved away from the sun, it sped up, not by gravity, not by any force we could identify. Mainstream scientists scrambled for answers. Some claimed outgassing, the typical process where comets expel gas under solar heat, was responsible. But Oumuamua didn't emit anything. No gas, no particles, no heat signatures. It was accelerating without propulsion. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb offered a theory that shocked the scientific community. What if Oumuamua wasn't natural? What if it was an artificial probe, a piece of alien technology using light sail propulsion, reflecting solar radiation to guide its path? This idea was immediately criticized, but it could not be disproven, and it made more sense than the weak explanations being pushed to fit a natural origin. To me, this doesn't look like a random rock. It looks like reconnaissance. It looks like something sent here deliberately, to watch, to measure, to pass through unnoticed. Then came the second. In August 2019, Gennady Borisov, an amateur astronomer in Crimea, discovered another object on a hyperbolic trajectory, meaning it came from outside our solar system. It moved fast. It came in at an angle almost perpendicular to the ecliptic, the flat plane where most planets orbit. This wasn't a flyby from a nearby system. It came from deep space. Borisov behaved more like a comet than Oumuamua. It had a visible tail, a cloud of gas and dust. But it too had anomalies. Its chemical composition was strange, unusually high in carbon monoxide, unlike most comets we've seen. Its path showed no gravitational capture. It entered and exited our system without being pulled by the sun. Like Oumuamua, it came and left with precision. And then, in 2025, came the third, 3I Atlas. It hasn't been as publicly dissected, but early orbital data suggests it too may be interstellar. It follows a strange arc, one that defies origin within the solar system. Astronomers are cautious, but the pattern is emerging. 3 known interstellar objects in 8 years, from 0 to 3, just as humanity builds its deep space telescopes, as it prepares for manned missions to Mars, and as UAP disclosures begin to shake the world. That timing is not coincidence, it's coordination. These objects arrived not randomly, but at a threshold, a point in time when human civilization reached a new level of technological capability and cosmic awareness. Just as we're preparing to leave our planetary cradle, scouts arrive, not to greet us, to watch us. If we consider the possibility that these are not natural objects, we must ask, what are they? Some theorists propose the idea of derelict probes, drifting technologies sent millennia ago from unknown civilizations. Like our own Voyager and Pioneer spacecraft now leaving the solar system, perhaps other civilizations sent out messengers long before us. But others go further. They invoke the idea of von Neumann probes, self-replicating machines capable of copying themselves using local materials. Sent in massive waves, these probes could monitor the entire galaxy over millions of years. What if Oumuamua wasn't the first? What if it was merely the first we detected? The lack of signals is often cited as proof of their natural origin, but silence does not mean absence of intelligence. A stealthy probe would not broadcast. It would not interfere. It would pass quietly, observe, collect, and vanish, exactly what these objects have done. And what of the shape? No known natural object has the elongated flat profile of Oumuamua. It lacks spin symmetry. It doesn't tumble like a rock. It turns like a structure. Its surface reflects light like metal. These are not signatures of cosmic debris. They are the hallmarks of design. This raises another question mainstream science avoids. If these are probes, who sent them? Throughout ancient history, myths describe beings who descend from the sky, not to conquer, but to observe. The Anunnaki, the Watchers, the Lords of the Sky. In every tradition, these beings are described as coming at key moments in human evolution, to teach, to guide, or to warn. Perhaps today's scouts are the modern equivalent, not chariots of fire, but tumbling monoliths. Cold, indifferent, and intelligent. These are not anomalies, they are reminders. We are not alone, we never were. Our solar system is not a private chamber. It is a hallway, a crossroads, a corridor through which others travel. The arrival of these objects is not just a scientific novelty, it is a shift in perspective. A reminder that we are being monitored from afar, that someone is measuring our progress, our reaction, our readiness. Not all watchers need wings. Some arrive as stones. Some hide in silence. Some leave before we even realize we've been seen. Oumuamua, Borisov, 3-Eye Atlas. These names are markers in time, but they may also be messages, echoes of a greater intelligence that is watching us rise and waiting for what comes next. Long before telescopes scanned the stars, long before radar pierced the atmosphere or satellites orbited the Earth, ancient civilizations looked to the sky and knew they were not alone. They saw lights, movements, appearances and disappearances that defied explanation, and from these experiences, they crafted stories. Not fables, not fantasies, records, descriptions, memories. The idea that humanity has always been watched is not a modern invention. It is ancient, and it is everywhere. Across the world, from Mesopotamia to the Americas, from Egypt to China, cultures separated by oceans and millennia all spoke of one thing in common: beings who came from the sky. They were luminous, winged, radiant. They descended in glory and left in silence. They stood above kings and among commoners. Sometimes they spoke, sometimes they judged, sometimes they taught. But they always watched. This is not poetic imagery, this is a pattern. In ancient Mesopotamia, some of the earliest writings etched into clay tell of the Anunnaki, powerful beings who descended from the heavens. Yet physically, even above them were the Igigi, described as watchers, orbiting the Earth in their heavenly stations. The texts don't portray them as gods dwelling on Earth. They remained in the sky, observing. Their presence was constant but distant. They watched as humanity toiled. They monitored progress, and according to some accounts, they intervened when necessary. To me, this doesn't look like mythology. It looks like memory. A cultural recollection of surveillance from above. The Sumerians spoke of Duranki, the bond between heaven and earth. Their ziggurats weren't just places of worship. They were stairways for the gods, literally. Physical platforms connecting the realm of man with the sky. These structures were said to allow the Anunnaki and other beings to descend and ascend, not metaphorically, but mechanically. Some tablets even describe landing zones and designated platforms for divine chariots. Modern interpretations dismiss these descriptions as spiritual symbolism. But why then did these ancient architects align their structures with celestial markers? Why did they encode astronomical knowledge far beyond what primitive civilizations were supposed to understand? Because these weren't metaphors, they were instruction manuals. And the Watchers, they were real. In the Hebrew tradition, the Book of Enoch describes the Watchers, a group of angels sent to observe humanity. But they did more than watch. They descended to Earth, interacted with humans, and taught forbidden knowledge, astronomy, metalworking, magic, even genetic manipulation. They were luminous, fiery, capable of flight. And they defied the boundaries set for them by their own higher authority. What strikes me is the consistency of the description, not just in Enoch, but across cultures. These watchers are always associated with light, with fire, with flight. They descend, intervene, and then vanish. Their presence is not constant, but cyclical, appearing at moments of great human transition or turmoil. This idea recurs in nearly every ancient tradition. In Genesis, the sons of God descend and take human wives. In Sumer, the gods rule humanity directly before retreating to the sky. In the Hindu Vedas, flying vimanas transport divine beings across realms. In the Popol Vuh of the Maya, sky beings create and monitor human life, correcting failed versions before settling on the final form. Again and again, we see the same structure. A superior intelligence descends, intervenes, and withdraws, but never fully disappears. This raises a question mainstream academia avoids. What if these stories are not independent fabrications? What if they are different perspectives on the same phenomenon, one that spanned the globe? To me, the answer is clear. These weren't gods. These were beings, extraterrestrial, technologically superior, and present. Their influence didn't stop at observation. Ancient kings often claimed their right to rule came directly from the sky. Sumerian kingship lists describe rulers as chosen by the gods, with some reigns lasting tens of thousands of years. Egyptian pharaohs were sons of the sun god. Chinese emperors received the mandate of heaven. In each case, authority wasn't political, it was cosmic. This suggests more than mythology. It suggests a structure, a program, guidance, perhaps even control, implemented from above. And the Watchers didn't just shape politics, they sculpted civilization. According to countless ancient sources, knowledge was gifted, not discovered. The Sumerians said writing came from Enki. The Egyptians credited Thoth with hieroglyphs. The Dogon of Mali possessed detailed knowledge of Sirius B, an invisible star only confirmed by modern telescopes. How? I believe the answer lies in contact. The Watchers were not distant, passive observers. They were involved, selectively, strategically. They taught agriculture, architecture, astronomy, law. They appeared during thresholds, the moment humanity crossed from survival into civilization. But they also imposed boundaries. Many myths speak of forbidden knowledge, of punishments for crossing lines, the fall of Atlantis, the Tower of Babel, the flood sent to cleanse genetic corruption. These stories aren't just about morality, they're about control. The Watchers weren't just interested in progress, they were managing a process, monitoring an experiment, and some structures may have been built to keep the connection open. Temples aligned with the stars, pyramids that mirrored Orion's belt, stone circles that mapped solstices and equinoxes. These weren't artistic choices. They were communication protocols, signal beacons, landing markers, observatories designed not just for looking up, but for being seen. It's no coincidence that the heavens were central to ancient thought. In their eyes, the sky wasn't abstract. It was occupied. What we now call myth may be the fossilized memory of real interaction. What we call gods may be our ancestors' best attempt to describe beings so advanced they seemed divine. But the Watchers never left. They changed forms, from winged gods to lights in the sky, from descending angels to silent orbiters, from chariots of fire to tumbling interstellar objects. Their presence evolves, but the pattern remains. And if ancient humans built ziggurats to reach them, if prophets saw their fiery descent, if kings claimed their favor, then we are not witnessing a new phenomenon today. We are rediscovering an old truth, a truth buried beneath dogma, lost beneath ruins, erased by time, but not forgotten. We were watched, we are watched, and the eyes above have always been there. From mountaintops to open skies, from deserts to cathedrals, humanity has always looked upward in its search for the divine. But what if the lights in the sky were never mystical abstractions? What if they were real, technological, intelligent, intentional? For thousands of years, prophets claimed to receive messages from the heavens. But the circumstances of these revelations often followed a curious pattern, one that mirrors modern accounts of close encounters: brilliant light, unexplainable sound, paralysis, a descent from above. Encounters not with omnipresent deities, but with beings who came from the sky, delivered their message, and vanished. These were not symbolic dreams. They were experiences, and they may not have been divine. They may have been extraterrestrial. Consider the prophet Ezekiel. In one of the most vivid and unsettling accounts in religious history, Ezekiel describes witnessing a great cloud with fire flashing continually and a bright light around it. From within, he sees 4 beings, radiant, humanoid, each accompanied by a wheel intersecting a wheel. The wheels moved in all directions, rose and descended, emitting the sound of rushing wind or thunder. The description is clinical, mechanical. The language is unfamiliar only because Ezekiel lacked the vocabulary to describe what we might now call a spacecraft. To me, this account doesn't suggest imagination. It suggests a close encounter. Ezekiel was not dreaming. He was recording what he saw as best as he could, and he saw a machine, operated by beings not of this world. This pattern of celestial contact repeats across time. In 1917, in the fields of Fatima, Portugal, tens of thousands of people witnessed what would later be called the miracle of the sun. After 3 shepherd children claimed to speak to a lady from the sky, a crowd gathered to witness the promised sign. What they saw was not metaphor. They saw the sun spin, change colors, and dance in the sky. Journalists reported it. Skeptics witnessed it. The event ended with the sun appearing to plunge toward the earth before snapping back to its position. This was no hallucination. It was an aerial event, a performance, a message, and the entity that orchestrated it. Who was she? Was she an angel, a divine messenger, or something else? Something that knew exactly how to trigger awe, how to imitate divinity, how to deliver a sign. Across religious history, moments of divine revelation are accompanied by strange lights, clouds, and sounds. Moses ascends Mount Sinai and encounters a blazing fire within a cloud. Elijah is taken up to heaven in a chariot of fire. Jesus is transfigured on a mountaintop, enveloped in radiant light, while a voice speaks from above. Again and again, the scene is set. Elevation, isolation, light, and descent. These are not poetic symbols, they are field reports. They describe technological phenomena witnessed by ancient observers. The Star of Bethlehem, often romanticized as a heavenly guide, was no ordinary star. It moved, it stopped, it hovered. Stars do not behave this way. They do not guide travelers to specific homes or illuminate singular events. What we're reading is a description of a flying object, possibly a craft, that marked the arrival of someone important. A birth not just divine, but engineered. The birth of a being said to have no earthly father, a hybrid, a messenger. In every culture, the pattern continues. Medieval chronicles describe fiery shields and glowing spheres in the sky, battle formations of flying objects recorded by monks, not myths, not allegories, records, some drawn, some carved, some written with alarm and reverence. The past is littered with these sightings, but they are brushed aside as mass delusion or misunderstood natural phenomena. I believe that is a mistake. These were not anomalies, they were visitations, and the figures associated with them, the angels, the beings of light. Were they celestial spirits, or were they emissaries? Biological or mechanical messengers operating under advanced intelligence, sent to guide, to warn, or to influence. Angels are always described the same way, radiant, winged, descending from the sky. They deliver information. They intervene in human affairs. They arrive suddenly and leave just as mysteriously. But their wings may not be feathers. They may be extensions, propulsion systems, the interpretation of light bending around artificial suits or mechanisms. Their glow may be energy, their message, mission. Throughout art history, these motifs persist. Halos, beams of light, discs in the sky. In countless Renaissance paintings, strange objects hover above holy scenes. Why would a medieval artist, unexposed to our concept of flying technology, paint discs in the clouds with beams of light descending from them? Because something was seen. Something passed down through tradition, memory, and vision. Religion and revelation are not opposed to technology. They may be shaped by it. What we call miracles may be misunderstood science. What we call visions may be encounters. And what we call prophecy may be communication from an advanced intelligence. There is a reason these appearances often happen at pivotal moments. The birth of a prophet, the founding of a religion, the rise of a civilization. These are junctures, turning points. And each time, the sky responds, not with abstract signs, but with structured events, lights, sounds, apparitions. This raises a larger question. Who decides when to appear? Are these interventions spontaneous or part of a plan? A long-term program to shape human development through carefully staged moments of influence. To me, the evidence points to the latter, from the wheels of Ezekiel to the spinning sun of Fatima, from the cloud on Sinai to the star of Bethlehem. The same force moves behind the curtain, observing, intervening, shaping belief, not just from above, but through manipulation of the skies. And while mainstream theology clings to metaphor, I believe these were real events, not dreams, not hallucinations. Events recorded with reverence because they were terrifying, powerful, and beyond explanation. Events that left their mark in stone, ink, and faith. We must begin to reinterpret the divine history of the human race, not as stories of a supernatural realm, but as documentation of ancient contact, repeated, structured, deliberate. The sky has always been filled with signs, but perhaps they weren't sent from heaven. Perhaps they came from somewhere else, from watchers, from travelers, from those who do not live among us, but who see us, guide us, and when necessary, intervene. They were never just symbols, they were messages, and those who received them changed the world. There is a chilling realization that arises when one begins to trace the patterns, not in myths, but in history, in archaeology, and in our very DNA. The Watchers are not simply voyeurs in the cosmic theater. They are engineers, program directors, custodians of a long-term experiment in which we, humanity, are the subject. And the deeper one looks, the clearer it becomes. We were never truly free to evolve on our own. We've been managed, sculpted, watched. Ancient cultures didn't just imagine gods creating man, they recorded it, over and over again. In Sumerian texts, human beings are said to have been fashioned from a mixture of clay and divine essence, not a metaphor for spirit, but possibly a literal description of genetic engineering. The clay could represent the human body, and the essence the advanced genetic code of those who came from the stars. In the Atrahasis epic, the gods grow weary of labor and decide to create a worker species. The result? Humanity. This isn't a fable, it's a project brief, and similar accounts echo from Egypt to Mesoamerica. The Popol Vuh of the Maya speaks of multiple attempts to craft a suitable human, some too weak, some too flawed. Only after refinement is the final version accepted. In the Hebrew Book of Enoch, the Watchers, beings from above, take human wives and produce hybrid offspring. This union is forbidden, and a flood is sent to erase the result. But the detail remains. Non-human entities altered the human line. To me, these aren't stories. They're status reports. Humanity was designed, modified, and observed, and continues to be. But the experiment did not stop at biology. It extended into civilization itself. Ancient records consistently credit beings from the sky with delivering the foundational elements of culture: writing, agriculture, astronomy, metallurgy, always selectively, always to specific individuals or priesthoods, never broadcast to all. This suggests knowledge was not discovered. It was distributed, on a schedule, according to readiness, according to the Watcher's timeline. We see this in how civilizations emerged: Sumer, Egypt, the Indus Valley, Mesoamerica. Each appears not with slow evolution, but with sudden sophistication. Writing systems, advanced math, astronomy aligned with celestial bodies, architectural knowledge that should have taken centuries, all arriving seemingly at once, and always accompanied by myths of gods or sky beings descending and teaching. Why? Because these were deployment zones, pockets of advancement seeded under supervision. Civilization didn't bloom by accident. It was cultivated like a garden. And above it all, the Watchers watched. They watched from the sky, from orbit, from the shadows of history. And according to countless traditions, they come and go in cycles. The idea of the return of the gods is not isolated to one mythology. The Maya spoke of the end of cycles, marked by celestial alignments. The Sumerians listed reigns of kings before the flood, some lasting tens of thousands of years, until the gods departed. In Egyptian texts, the Zep Tepi, the first time, was an era when gods ruled on earth directly, before withdrawing. The Watchers have phases: observation, intervention, retreat, return. This return is not always benevolent. Ancient stories often link their arrival with judgment, catastrophe, or resets. The flood myths, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the fall of Atlantis. These aren't merely moral tales. They are operational resets. When humanity deviates from the plan, the Watchers intervene, not to destroy randomly, but to realign the program. And in our time, something has changed. Since the mid-20th century, UFO sightings have skyrocketed. And what triggered the spike? The detonation of the atomic bomb. For millennia, the Watchers allowed humanity to war, to struggle, to experiment. But when we split the atom, we crossed a line. We became a danger, not only to ourselves, but potentially to the program. Modern military records confirm that UFOs have shown particular interest in nuclear facilities. Sightings above missile silos, interference with launch codes, deactivation of entire systems without damage. These are not the actions of curious visitors. They are the behaviors of supervisors stepping in before a mistake ruins the experiment. Earth may be a lab, a planetary petri dish, a social experiment, and the Watchers are monitoring us for stability, deviation, and potential. But there is a deeper, darker possibility: containment. Perhaps Earth is not just being monitored. Perhaps it is quarantined, kept separate from wider galactic society. And our evolution is being regulated until we prove ourselves fit for contact, or until we reach a threshold that requires intervention. If so, then everything we know about our freedom is an illusion. There are also patterns in how they interact. Sometimes they intervene directly, as in the wars of the gods described in Mesopotamian epics, or the gifts of knowledge delivered by mysterious figures in white robes. Other times, they act indirectly: visions, dreams, omens. Prophets claim to receive instruction from the sky and are then tasked with guiding entire civilizations. This may be a rule of engagement: non-interference unless necessary, no contact unless invited, but control through subtlety, through religious experience, selected elites, or sudden appearances at crucial moments. Throughout history, those deemed chosen often emerged after a vision, a dream, or a physical encounter with a radiant being. From Moses to Muhammad, from the Buddha to modern-day contactees, the structure repeats. An awakening experience, followed by transmission of new knowledge, followed by cultural transformation, This is influence, strategic, directed influence. The Watchers may operate through select individuals, ensuring that the path of civilization follows their intended trajectory. So when we see UFOs in our skies today, when governments slowly begin to disclose what they know, we are not entering a new phase. We are witnessing the next cycle in a very old program. Our myths were not fantasies. Our religions may be rooted in misunderstood encounters, and our history is not a story of random evolution. It is a roadmap laid out millennia ago, now reaching its next chapter. The Watchers are still here. They never left. They shaped our past. They guard our present. And when the moment comes, when the next threshold is crossed, they will return, not as invaders, but as architects checking their design. The question is not if they are watching. The question is, what are they waiting for? They no longer hide in myth. They no longer whisper from the heavens in sacred texts or burn through the sky in ancient visions. Today, the Watchers have become visible, not only to prophets and scribes, but to radar, satellites, fighter pilots, and high-ranking officials. They've traded wings for tic-tac shapes, thrones of fire for hypersonic maneuvers, and heavenly voices for leaked government footage. But their presence, their intention, has never changed. They are observing. And now, we are forced to admit, someone else is in our skies. The term UFO once conjured images of conspiracy and science fiction, but today it has evolved. The modern lexicon calls them UAPs, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, a deliberate rebranding meant to cleanse the stigma, to allow serious inquiry. But it does more than shift semantics. It acknowledges something much deeper, that these objects exist, they are real, and we do not understand them. UAPs appear across all domains, not just the sky, but the oceans and even the vacuum of space. Some descend silently from the stratosphere. Others emerge from beneath the sea. Many demonstrate capabilities beyond any known propulsion system. Sudden acceleration without inertia, right-angle turns at supersonic speeds, seamless movement from air to water, and an absence of any heat signature or engine noise. These are not the stumblings of rogue drones or misidentified birds. These are intelligently controlled technologies operating under physics we have yet to grasp. Consider what happened in 2004. Off the coast of California, seasoned Navy pilots encountered something extraordinary. A craft, shaped like a white tic-tac, hovered in mid-air. No wings, no exhaust, no markings. And then, it moved. Not just fast, but with intention. It descended 80,000 feet in under a second. It played with the jets, mirroring, responding, anticipating. Commander David Fravor, one of the pilots, described the object as defying logic. Not just maneuverability, but behavior. It was aware. This incident, once whispered in military circles, was later released to the public, complete with radar data and infrared footage. It was not alone. In 2020, the Pentagon declassified 3 separate videos of UAPs. Official admission, they could not be identified. In 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a report detailing over 140 UAP encounters by military personnel between 2004 and 2021. These incidents weren't vague lights in the sky. They were structured, observed, recorded, and unexplained. Most notably, many occurred near military installations, nuclear weapons sites, and during weapons testing exercises. What does that tell us? That the Watchers are not merely passing through. They are monitoring. They show up at our moments of greatest technological tension, when missiles are readied, when reactors hum, when war games simulate global conflict. They appear, they watch, sometimes they intervene. There are reports, still shrouded in partial secrecy, of UAPs disabling nuclear warheads, deactivating launch sequences, or causing control systems to go offline. No explosions, no threats. just a silent shutdown, as if to say, "We are here, we are aware, and we won't let you destroy yourselves." This pattern is consistent not only on American soil, Brazil, France, Russia. Each nation holds archives filled with similar sightings. Declassified files from the Brazilian Air Force describe mass sightings of disc-shaped objects hovering over military zones, observed by radar and witnessed by trained personnel. France's space agency, CNS, has operated Gaipan, a scientific investigation unit for UAPs, for decades, long before the US acknowledged the reality. These aren't isolated events, they form a global pattern, a network of watchfulness, and the watchers aren't restricted to Earth's surface. Astronauts have reported encounters. Gordon Cooper, one of NASA's pioneers, claimed to witness a metallic craft during a test flight, an event quickly buried. Edgar Mitchell, sixth man on the moon, later spoke openly about government cover-ups and extraterrestrial presence. Video from space shuttle missions reveals fast-moving lights changing direction in orbit. The International Space Station's live stream has, on multiple occasions, shown luminous objects entering or exiting Earth's atmosphere, only for the feed to mysteriously cut. They are not just in our air, they are in our space, which raises a deeper question. Why now? Why the sudden shift from denial to disclosure? Historically, UFOs were ridiculed. Pilots who reported them were silenced. Scientists who studied them were marginalized. But today, something has changed. Mainstream media covers sightings without mockery. US senators receive classified briefings. The Pentagon has established the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, a permanent body tasked with investigating UAPs across air, sea, and space. Even whistleblowers now come forward with protection. David Grush, a former intelligence official, testified before Congress that the US government possesses retrieved craft and biological material, not of human origin. He stated under oath that these programs have existed in deep secrecy for decades. He did not speak as a theorist. He spoke as an insider. So why admit this now? Because the watchers no longer operate in the shadows. They are being seen, caught on radar, tracked by satellites, and perhaps they are allowing it. There's a strategic elegance to this revelation. The watchers have not landed in the middle of Times Square. They have not hijacked global broadcasts, but they've let themselves be observed, piece by piece. Enough to shift perception, enough to prepare us. And public perception has shifted. We no longer ask, are they real? We ask, what do they want? That question echoes across the ages. In the ancient world, they came as gods, as angels, as thrones of fire. Today, they come as orbs, triangles, and tic-tac crafts. But the behavior is the same, watchful, strategic, often appearing at turning points in human history. They have always watched, but today, the veil lifts. UAPs do not attack, they do not conquer, they observe, intervene, and vanish. Their presence is calculated, not random, like a silent security system ensuring the experiment does not deviate too far from its parameters. Could we be on the verge of contact, or simply another cycle of observation before they retreat again? Whatever the answer, one truth is clear. They are still here. They never stopped watching. And now, with eyes in the sky and governments forced to admit the unexplainable, humanity stands on the edge of revelation. The watchers are no longer myth. They are real, and they are watching still. They are not just watching us from above, they are watching us through the Earth itself. Scattered across our planet lie monuments of stone and mystery. Some rise from desert sands, others cling to mountain cliffs or hide beneath jungle canopies. These structures, weathered by time yet stubbornly intact, carry more than myth. They carry design, precise, intentional, and aligned. They are not random, they are connected. And when mapped together, they reveal something extraordinary, a grid, a global geometric lattice of ancient markers, a celestial network carved into the surface of our world. Could it be that Earth was engineered to be seen, to be mapped, navigated, and perhaps controlled? This is the heart of the celestial grid. At first glance, it seems impossible that civilizations separated by oceans and millennia could build monuments that align with each other and with stars. But the pattern is there. It exists in stone and silence, in alignments and proportions too perfect to dismiss as coincidence. Consider the Earth grid theory. Researchers have noted for decades that many of the world's ancient and sacred sites are positioned along invisible lines, called ley lines or telluric currents, which trace energetic paths across the planet. Stonehenge, Giza, Teotihuacan, Machu Picchu. Each of these sites falls along geometric trajectories that, when plotted, form grids, triangles, pentagrams, and longitudinal intersections. They do not spiral randomly. They lock into patterns consistent with advanced cartography. It's as if someone, or something, mapped the planet before recorded history and placed beacons upon it. These beacons are not merely placed, they are oriented. The ancient architects of Earth's most enigmatic structures had an obsession with the sky. Their temples, pyramids, and ziggurats weren't just aligned with the sun, they were tuned to the heavens, aligned with solstices, equinoxes, lunar standstills, and specific constellations. This goes beyond symbolism. It hints at function. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, is aligned almost perfectly with true north, a feat not matched until modern engineering. But inside the pyramid, narrow shafts point directly toward Orion's belt and Sirius, two stars revered across multiple ancient cultures. Were these celestial homages, or were they calibration points, targeting coordinates for those navigating Earth from above? At Teotihuacan in Mexico, we find the same motif. The city's entire layout mirrors the Orion constellation. Its central avenue, flanked by the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon, resembles a celestial runway. Teotihuacan's builders are unknown, their knowledge unexplained. But the site's astronomical precision suggests it was built not just to honor the stars, but to be seen from them. Then there are the Nazca lines of Peru, vast geoglyphs stretching across barren desert, birds, spiders, humanoid figures, and lines that run arrow-straight for miles. These drawings make no sense from the ground, but from the air they become unmistakable. Massive directional markers carved into the earth, pointing toward solstices, mountain peaks, and star paths. Who were they signaling? And then Göbekli Tepe. Buried for thousands of years beneath Turkish soil, this site predates every known civilization. Yet its massive stone pillars, carved with celestial symbols, are aligned with constellations and appear to track stellar movements. This is not the work of primitive farmers. It is an observatory, possibly a transmitter, from a time when no civilization should have had such knowledge. These aren't just buildings. They are part of something larger. The distribution of these ancient structures mirrors orbital paths. Their alignments form global relationships. From Angkor Wat in Cambodia to the pyramids of Egypt to Easter Island's Moai, these sites echo each other across space and time. They sit on key geodetic nodes, positions of natural energy resonance. Some researchers propose that these points allow for triangulation, not just for navigation, but for monitoring. Earth becomes not a random rock, but a monitored zone, a hub within a surveillance web. Could these monuments have served a dual purpose? Ancient texts describe ziggurats, stepped towers built in Sumer and Babylon, as stairways for the gods, not metaphors, but literal structures where deities ascended and descended. Atop these platforms, ceremonies were held to welcome visitors from the sky. Were these the original landing pads? Repeating architectural styles across continents suggest a shared design, a standardized platform for repeated contact. Inside these sites lies another clue. Sacred geometry. The builders of these monuments used specific ratios, phi, pi, and harmonics that mirror natural Earth frequencies. These aren't decorative choices. They're engineering decisions, structures designed to resonate, to vibrate in harmony with the planet. Could this resonance have amplified signals, served as energy collectors? Ancient temples may not have just honored the divine, they may have powered communications with it. And some of these structures, like pyramids, may have acted as visual aids for atmospheric entry. Imagine a craft descending toward Earth. What better way to identify a landing zone than with a massive, luminous structure reflecting sunlight or generating its own signal? The Great Pyramid, the step pyramids of Mesoamerica, the conical hills like Mount Kailash, each might serve as markers, guiding those who traverse the stars. But who exactly were they guiding? The repeated alignments with Orion, Sirius, and the Pleiades are not random. These stars dominate mythologies from Egypt, Sumer, and Mesoamerica alike. They are the homes of the gods, the origin points of the Watchers. Could it be that these alignments represent more than reverence? That they are coordinates, destinations, written in stone? This brings us to a radical possibility. That Earth is not an isolated planet, but part of a larger cosmic system, a waypoint, a monitored station. That the structures we call sacred are in fact technological, beacons in a galactic grid, not symbols of worship, but instruments of contact. If this is true, then the Watchers have always had access. They did not need to find us. We were marked, our skies mapped, our planet tagged with reference points, laid down millennia ago and still functional. We have been living in a monitored zone, unaware of the grid beneath our feet and the eyes above our skies. The celestial grid is not theory. It's evidence in stone, global, persistent, and aligned. A lattice work of intelligence that challenges the notion of human isolation. The ancients didn't build in isolation. They built with knowledge, or under direction. And now, we're beginning to see what they saw. That temples may be machines, that monuments may be messages, and that the Watchers, those silent observers from the stars, have always known exactly where we are. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and share it with friends and family who are interested in this topic. See you in the next video.